Hello everyone, for today we're going to be working on derivatives, and for tips for today I'm going to share with you how I teach my students how to use the law of exponents and see how they're going to convert functions so that they'll be able to use the power rule easier when it comes to finding the derivatives of certain functions. So most students are, or most of my students always tells me that calculus is hard because, or they're getting low grades in calculus because calculus is hard in the first place. But I always tell them and share with them that to be able to conquer calculus, all you need to do is to master your math fundamentals, especially algebra, especially on the topics of the law of exponents. And this is what I'm going to share with you so that if you happen to be teaching or learning calculus and having trouble in working out with problems involving derivatives or even integration, you'll be able to realize that with just mastery or understanding the law of exponent, calculus will be a lot easier to deal with. And that is our goal for today. So if you're a student or a teacher of calculus or even algebra, the lessons that I have on the description box down below will help you solve some problems for your practice exercises and to be able to master your skill on the law of exponents and at the same time the derivative functions or the derivative rules. So tip number one, the law of exponents, just like what I've been sharing with you, just need to, for students, go back and master your rule of division with exponents, multiplication, conversion of radical expression into an exponential expressions. These are just some of the common law that we are learning, the law of exponents, all the way in algebra or basic algebra classes. And with this skill, you'll be more confident in tackling problems involving calculus, specifically on derivatives and even on integration. And once you have mastered your laws of exponents, the next thing that you're going to be working on is, of course, the power rule. And the power rule, as basic as it may seem, this is going to be the highlight on how you work out problems in derivatives, because most students, when they see fractions, they're quick to use the quotient rule, and when they see parentheses or factors in problems involving derivatives and even in integrations, they're quick to use rules like the product rule to be able to solve the answer, not knowing that with the use of algebra, things will be a lot easier for them to deal with. And that will be some of the examples that I'm going to be sharing with you when we here when I show you my problem similar to this one, 1, 2, and 3. Some of the problems here, if you are a student of calculus, would quickly conclude that you're going to be using the quotient rule for number 1 and number 2, and for number 3, probably the chain rule right away. But I'm just going to share with you that by a quick algebra step, problem number 1 will be from quotient rule. You'll be able to make it as simple as dividing x to the 5th by x to the 4th. So we know that it will turn into just 3x to the 1. And now f of x is now 3, or converted to 3x to the first power. And now we're going to be using the power rule to solve the derivative of f of x, which I'm not going to show you because if you're a student of calculus, you already know what f prime of x is without even solving it, because now you've used power rule to show how it's simplified. And for problem number 2, 1 all over x squared, if we're going to differentiate it, most students will be quick to use the low d high minus high d low over low lower the quotient rule, which will still give you the correct answer, but the process is pretty tedious and prone to some mistakes. So instead of taking that risk, let's modify it using the law of exponent, because we know that 1 all over x squared can be converted into x to the negative 2. And now that we have this function, using the power rule will be a lot easier, and we'll be able to solve for the derivative of f of x. And for problem number 3, knowing that you can convert square root of x into an exponential expression or function, f of x can now be seen as x raised to 1 all over 2, or 1/2, because we know that the square root of x converted into its exponential form is simply a rational exponent of 1 all over 2. So now you can now you can use the power rule to be able to solve for the f prime of x of this function. So this is how the law of exponent plays an important role when we are working on problems in calculus. And this, of course, is what I want to share with you whenever I'm teaching problems involving calculus, that it's always the law of exponents that you need to work on so that you'll be able to understand calculus a lot easier. And to recap of what we just had today, so my first tip is to, 1, master the law of exponents so that you can modify some of the functions in calculus into a more simpler expressions or equation to work with. And tip number 2, power rule. That will be your priority when you are working with derivative rules. So try to convert your functions so that you will end up using the power rule power rule instead of the quotient rule or the chain rule or the product rule. And for students and teachers who wants to see the problems or my videos involving the law of exponents and also the derivative rules that we've just covered, it's on the description box down below. And if you happen to be teaching calculus and derivatives, comment down below and share to us how you're teaching it in your own classroom. And this, of course, is my math tips for today. And I hope that this will help you to help your students to get rid of their anxiety when it comes to calculus, because calculus is easy. You just need to master algebra first, especially the law of exponents, so that it will be a lot more manageable to work on. This is Dr. E, and see you again next time. Bye!